I'm going to start with a question. Don't worry, it's not a difficult question, and I'm not going to hold you to the answer that you give me. But what I want to ask is, what do you think of when you hear the word refugee? What comes into your head? I asked Google, as you do, and I'm going to show you some images that Google gives you if you type in the word refugee. And if you see an image that relates to what you have in your head when you hear that word, please raise your hand. So the first is mass migration. So if anybody's thought of mass migration, please raise your hands. Good honesty, I like it, good start. Violence. Okay. Refugee camps. Okay, that's most of you. Crisis and need. Refugees in crisis. Mediterranean and journeys. This is perhaps the most famous image of refugee crisis. And the last is integration and enterprise. 2, 3. I should admit at this point that I lied. This actually isn't from Google. We're not quite there yet. And the reason why I wanted to start with that question is because perhaps for the first time in YFN history, I'm actually going to ask you not to give us money if you've raised your hand for the first 4 images. The reason for that is, if you want to save refugees, if you think refugees are victims and need our help, then we're not the right organisation to donate to. But if you think that refugees are ambitious, are talented, and have skills to bring to our communities, and that we are currently failing them, then I ask you to consider us tonight. And if you're currently thinking, what the hell is he talking about? Well, I have about 4 minutes to try and convince you why that's the case. So when I say we're failing refugees, this is the reason why. Please forgive the slightly bizarre graphic. So 50% of refugees in the UK at the moment are unemployed. And the refugees that get into employment are paid less than UK citizens for that work. Which means that most of the recent arrivals to our country are dependent on the state. And what that means is that if the state fails them, they slip into destitution, which means that they are not able to sustain a basic standard of living. But what we know, and we've known for a very long time, is that refugees are determined. They're determined to integrate into our communities. The refugees are educated. The average length of time a refugee has spent in education is 12 years. And that they're entrepreneurial. 32% of Syrian refugees were in a business back in their home country, either started themselves or in a family-owned business. And yet just 1% of those refugees have started a business in Europe, which is where we come in. So I come from the Entrepreneur Refugee Network. We are an organisation that's working to support refugees in starting their own enterprise in the UK. So what does that actually mean? Well, we started back in 2016, and in last year we ran 3 programs that worked with 24 entrepreneurs, giving 500 hours of support. So expert advice, mentorship, designed to help them move forward in their business journey. And as you can see, we were pretty successful in that process. But what does that actually practically look like? Well, there's actually been someone in the background for the last few slides that you might have noticed, who's going to come to center stage now. This is Baba. Baba is from Gabon. He was an entrepreneur in his home country and a very successful one. He came to the UK, he slipped into destitution for all the reasons that I've already talked about, and was not confident enough to start his own business. Because he didn't think he had the knowledge, he didn't think he had the experience to start in the UK. So he came to us, he was part of our early stage entrepreneurship program, and now he's moved through that, and he has a clear business concept, he has a developed business plan, and he's part of our fully developed business incubator to take it through the next stage. And what that means is it's not just his business confidence that's been affected, but his entire support network and the support system in the UK has changed. So what he told us when he arrived is that he didn't feel like he had any supporters to help launch his business. Now he feels like he has a network around him, not just through us, but through the confidence in the business network that he has. Which leads me on to why we're here today. So next year, we're going to be working with 70 entrepreneurs, this year in 2018, we're going to be working with 70 entrepreneurs in 3 cities. We're going to be running programs in 3 different countries, in the Netherlands, in Germany, and of course in the UK. But we want to do more. And for every £150 that we can raise from you tonight, we can support another entrepreneur with our on-demand services. That is the kind of vital first step in helping them move along their business journey. So that's what we're asking is £150 to try and move a refugee into the next stage of their lives. And so our appeal to you tonight is not to your heart, but actually to your head as well. Because if you believe like we do in an open and inclusive society, and I hope that you will do, then we need to stop failing those who no longer have a home. And I hope that I've shown you tonight that we no longer need to. And I think just before the bell, I managed it.
Okay, so we have time for a few questions. questions. Does anyone have any questions in the audience at all? Don't be shy.
If not, that just means I did a really good job.
Yeah, question here?
Where does the £150 figure come from?
So effectively what it is to provide bespoke support to an individual. So we have specific business advisors that come in to identify and assess a refugee's needs and a refugee entrepreneur's needs, and then create on-demand support from our network that can pull in volunteer and pro bono resource to help them kind of leverage that next step. So that's what it's based around, is that first assessment period and then devising that next step for them. Oh, Christ.